The huge meeting hall of the Galactic Council was full of noise and activity. Alien creatures from many different worlds sat in their special seats, all looking very different from each other. Some were tall and thin, others were short and round. Some had fur, others had scales or hard shells. At the center of the room stood Commander Jake Martinez from Earth. He wore his best military uniform, which looked clean and neat even after the long trip from his home planet. Jake was nervous, but tried not to show it. This was the most important day in human history. "Dear Council members," Jake said in a clear, strong voice, "we humans want to join your Galactic Defense Coalition. We can help protect the galaxy with our military skills and weapons." Suddenly, strange clicking sounds filled the room. It was laughter, but not human laughter. The sounds came from the Zephyrian section. These aliens looked like giant insects, with 6 legs and hard, shiny bodies. High Admiral Kethtar was their leader. He stood up on his 6 legs and looked at Jake with his big compound eyes. "Sorry for laughing, human," he said through his translation device, "but we have seen reports about your weapons. You still use bullets and bombs? These are toys for children, not real weapons." Captain Lisa Brooks stood next to Jake. She felt angry when she heard the alien's words. Lisa had expected some doubt, but not this kind of mean laughter. She knew the Zephyrians were the strongest military force in this part of space. They had energy weapons that could cut through anything and shields that could stop the most powerful attacks. "Our weapons might look simple," Jake answered politely, "but they work very well in our wars. Maybe against other humans," said Ambassador Velnox. This alien looked like he was made of clear glass or crystal. His body shimmered and changed colors as he spoke. "But you have never fought in real galactic war. Your metal bullets would bounce off our energy shields like raindrops." General Sisthek was a reptile alien who looked like a giant snake with arms. He made a hissing sound and said, "We have watched your human wars. Your bullet weapons are slow and cannot hit targets. Far away, our energy barriers can stop them easily. Why would we want such old and weak help?" Jake felt the heavy responsibility on his shoulders. He was speaking for all of humanity. Earth had only been talking to aliens for 5 years, and this was their first time asking to join such an important group. The reports from Earth spies had warned him that many alien races thought humans were backward and stupid. "Maybe," Jake said carefully, "seeing our weapons work would be better than just talking about them." The room became very quiet. High Admiral Kethtar stared at Jake with his many-eyed gaze. "You want to show us?" Kethtar clicked. "You want to test your primitive weapons against our advanced defenses?" "If you will let us," Jake nodded. "A simple test. Your best defense technology against one of our normal weapon systems. The alien eye." Delegates started talking to each other in their strange languages. The idea of a demonstration was new and exciting. Many of them had never seen human weapons actually being used. They had only read boring reports that said human weapons were weak and useless. Ambassador Velnox's crystal body pulsed with colors that meant he was amused. "Very well, human. We agree to your idea. Tomorrow in the space testing area we will show you why your species needs to learn about modern warfare." When the meeting ended, Captain Brooks moved closer to Jake. "Sir, are you sure about this? Our intelligence reports say their shields can stop plasma blasts that would destroy our biggest ships." Jake smiled a little. "Lisa, those same reports also say they have never seen anything like what we are going to bring. Call Admiral Scott on the USS Columbia. Tell him to get the railgun ready." "The experimental railgun, sir?" Brooks looked surprised. "Did Earth Command really say we could use it?" "They did more than just say yes, Captain. They are counting on it." Jake looked at the alien delegates as they left the room. Many were still making those clicking sounds that meant they were laughing. "Tomorrow, we will show them that sometimes the old ways work better than the new ways." The aliens who were laughing at the humans did not know something very important. While they thought human technology was primitive and weak, they were missing a big secret. Other alien races had stopped using physical weapons thousands of years ago. They only used energy weapons now. But humans had kept working on the art of throwing very heavy objects at incredibly high speeds. The railgun on the Columbia could shoot a tungsten rod at almost 10% of light speed. That was faster than anything the aliens had ever seen. Tahiti. Aliens were about to learn a hard lesson. In the emptiness of space, the old rules of physics still worked. When something heavy hits something else at very high speed, the results are devastating. The aliens had forgotten this simple truth, but humans had not. Tomorrow would be a day that changed everything. The aliens would stop laughing, and they would start to understand that the primitive humans might not be so primitive after all. Sometimes the simplest solutions are the most deadly ones. Jake Martinez knew this. His people had been throwing rocks and spears for thousands of years. Now they had found a way to throw metal rods at speeds that would make the aliens' energy weapons look like toys. The demonstration would be more than just a test. It would be the moment when humanity showed the galaxy that they were not weak or backward. They were dangerous in ways the aliens could not imagine. The council chamber emptied, but the tension remained. Tomorrow everything would change. The space testing area above planet Kepler 442b was very busy. Ships from many different alien worlds had come to watch what they thought would be either a funny show or a complete embarrassment for the humans. The human ship USS Columbia floated in space near the testing zone. It looked rough and square compared to the smooth, curved alien ships. Admiral Jack Scott stood on the Columbia's control bridge. He watched through the big window as alien observer ships moved to safe positions, far away. Next to him, Chief Weapons Officer Maya Chen was checking their most secret weapon one last time. "Railgun is charging up to full power, Admiral," Maya said. "The tungsten rod is loaded and ready to fire." "Good," Scott said with a nod. "What about our target?" Lieutenant Sam Parker looked up from his computer screen. "The Zephyrians have put up their newest defense platform, sir. It's really impressive. It has the latest plasma shield makers, backup power systems, and can change frequencies. According to what they told us, it can stop energy weapons that are 500 times more powerful than anything we have." On the main viewing screen, the Zephyrian test platform floated in space. It looked like a metal flower with 6 arms. Each arm projected a shimmering energy barrier around the center part. The defensive field glowed with a faint blue light that bent the starlight around it. High Admiral Kethtar's voice came through the radio speakers. "Humans, your target is ready. Our shields are working at full power. You may start your demonstration whenever you want." His voice still sounded like he was making fun of them. All around the testing area, alien observers got comfortable to watch what they expected to be a useless show of primitive human technology against superior alien engineering. Admiral Scott turned on the communication system that reached all human ships. "All ships, this is Columbia. Our weapons are ready. Stand by for demonstration of human kinetic weapons technology." He looked at Maya. "Chief, you can fire when ready." Maya's hands moved over her controls with expert skill. The railgun was a weapon that ran through the entire length of the Columbia, 1 kilometer from back to front. It used electromagnetic fields to shoot projectiles. Unlike the flashy plasma weapons that other species like to use, the railgun was almost silent. Its power was contained within magnetic fields that could accelerate a small object to unbelievable speeds. "Firing now," Maya announced. There was no bright flash of light, no colorful beam shooting through space. The tungsten rod weighed only 2 kilograms, but it left the Columbia's railgun traveling at 30,000 kilometers per second. It was invisible to anyone looking and moving too fast for most sensors to follow. The Zephyrian shield had no chance at all. The tungsten rod hit the defensive barrier with the same amount of energy as a small nuclear bomb. The plasma shield was designed to deflect or absorb energy attacks, but it had no way to deal with solid matter moving at such incredible speed. The rod punched through the energy barrier like it was not even there. The rod melted from friction. In the tiny fraction of a second it took to cross through the shield. The superheated tungsten that remained still carried most of its original destructive energy. It hit the central platform like the fist of an angry giant, turning the entire structure into vapor in a brilliant flash. The explosion was so bright that the observer ships had to activate their emergency filters to protect their crew's eyes. Whoa. The explosion faded away. Nothing was left of the Zephyrian defensive platform except expanding clouds of metallic gas. The radio channels became completely silent. On the observation deck of the Crystalline Consortium ship, Ambassador Velnox stared at the empty space where the platform had been just seconds before. His see-through body had lost its usual sparkle and became almost solid with shock. "That's impossible," he whispered. "The shield generators were designed to take direct hits from our biggest plasma cannons." On the reptilian command ship, General Susthek's forked tongue flicked out nervously like a snake tasting the air. "How fast was that thing moving? Our sensors could barely see it." High Admiral Kethtar's compound eyes stared at the debris field where his platform used to be. As a professional military officer, he understood what this meant right away. The humans had just shown a weapon that could break through any known defense system, and they had done it with what was basically just a thrown rock. "Columbia," he finally managed to say, his voice no longer showing any of the earlier arrogance. "What was the speed of your projectile?" Admiral Scott's answer was calm and matter-of-fact. 30,000 kilometers per second, Admiral. That's standard speed for our Mark III railgun system." "Standard?" The word came out as a strangled clicking sound. "Yes, sir. This is actually one of our smaller weapons. We have ship-killer railguns that can push tungsten rods to 50,000 kilometers per second, and our planetary defense platforms can reach even higher speeds than that." The alien observers looked at each other with a new understanding in their eyes. They had been so focused on energy weapons that they had forgotten the basic physics of kinetic energy. Mass times velocity squared was still one of the most destructive forces in the universe, and the humans had found a way to reach speeds that made their primitive projectiles more devastating than the most advanced energy weapons in the galaxy. Captain Brooks was monitoring the communications from another part of the Columbia. She allowed herself a small smile. The demonstration had gone exactly as they had planned. Now came the real test of what would happen next. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Council happened just a few hours after the weapons test. The big meeting hall, which was usually filled with the confident voices of superior alien civilizations, now buzzed with nervous energy. Representatives gathered in small groups, their earlier laughter replaced by worried whispers and concerned looks toward the human delegation. Commander Jake Martinez took his place at the center speaking platform, but everything had changed completely. Where before he had faced dismissive laughter, now he saw something much more complex. The alien faces showed fear, respect, and urgent curiosity all mixed together. High Admiral Kethtar was the first to speak, his tone completely different from the day before. "Commander Martinez, the Council needs answers about several things regarding your weapons demonstration." "Of course, Admiral," Jake replied calmly. "What would you like to know?" "The speed of your projectile," said General Susthek, his reptile features tense with worry. "Our scientists calculate that such speed should need more energy than most ships can produce. How do you create such power?" Captain Brooks stepped forward. Her technical background made her the best person to answer such questions. "General, our railgun technology uses special electromagnetic coils to speed up projectiles slowly along a very long barrel. The process uses energy much more efficiently than energy weapons. But the power needed," Ambassador Velnox's crystal body flickered with worry, "to speed up matter to those velocities should be enormous." "Actually, no," Brooks explained. "You see, your energy weapons waste huge amounts of power making and controlling plasma. Our system converts electrical energy directly into kinetic energy with very little loss. A single fusion reactor can power multiple railgun systems." The room fell silent as the meaning sank in. Dr. Alex Kumar, the expedition's chief scientist, continued the explanation. "The key advantage is efficiency. While your plasma weapons might use massive amounts of power to deliver a specific amount of energy to a target, our kinetic weapons achieve the same destructive effect, using much less power." "But surely," came a voice from the Aquatic Federation's floating delegate, "such weapons have big limitations. Range, accuracy, ammunition supply." Jake smiled. "Doctor, would you explain?" Dr. Kumar activated a holographic display showing the technical details of human kinetic weapons. "Range is actually better than energy weapons. In space, there's no air friction to slow our projectiles. A tungsten rod fired from Earth could theoretically reach Alpha Centauri, though it would take years to get there. As for accuracy, Captain Brooks added, our targeting computers can predict projectile paths across distances between planets. We have successfully hit asteroid targets at ranges over 1 million kilometers. The alien delegates looked at each other with increasing worry. General Sistek hissed softly. And ammunition? Plenty, Jake replied. Tungsten is a common metal. Iron works almost as well. If we need to, we can shoot almost any dense material. Our ships carry thousands of rounds, and making more requires only basic metalworking. High Admiral Kethar's compound eyes focused intently on the human commander. Commander, you must understand our concern. These weapons you describe could break through any defensive system we have. That's correct, Admiral. And you have how many ships with these systems? Jake looked at Brooks before answering. Our entire fleet, Admiral. Every human warship from small patrol boats to giant dreadnoughts carries at least one railgun system. It's standard equipment on all our ships. The room erupted in worried chatter. The humans had not just shown a single experimental weapon. They had revealed that their entire military was equipped with technology that could make the galaxy's existing defensive systems completely useless. Ambassador Velnox's crystal form pulsed rapidly with agitation. How long have your people had this technology? Railguns have been in service for over 50 years, Dr. Kumar answered. The basic idea has been known for over 2 centuries. We have simply continued to improve the concept. 2 centuries? General Sesethek's voice rose higher. Why did your species not abandon kinetic weapons for energy systems like the rest of the galaxy? Jake thought carefully about his answer. General, human military thinking has always focused on practical effectiveness over technological beauty. When we learned about galactic energy weapons, our scientists studied them extensively. We concluded that while plasma weapons looked impressive, kinetic weapons delivered superior destructive power per unit of energy used. But the complexity, protested the delegate from the mechanical collective. Surely energy weapons are simpler to make and maintain. Captain Brooks shook her head. Actually, the opposite is true. A railgun is basically simple. It's just electromagnetic coils around a barrel. Plasma weapons require exotic matter containment, complex field generators, and constant adjustments. Our weapons are more reliable and easier to maintain. The alien delegates were beginning to understand that they had made a big error in judging human capabilities. They had dismissed human technology as primitive without understanding that simplicity could be a strength rather than a weakness. High Admiral Kethtar finally said what many were thinking. Commander Martinez, given this revelation, the Council must reconsider humanity's application for membership in the Galactic Defense Coalition. I understand, Admiral. However, we now have a more immediate concern. The Draconian Empire has been expanding aggressively into this sector. Our combined fleets have been unable to stop their advance. Would humanity be willing to help in our defense? Jake had been expecting this question. Earth's intelligence services had been watching the Draconian expansion for months, waiting for the right moment to offer help. Admiral, humanity would be honored to help defend innocent worlds from aggression. However, we would need full tactical command of any joint operations. The request sent another wave of worried murmurs through the room. Giving tactical command to the primitive humans would have been unthinkable yesterday. Today, it seemed like their only hope for survival. The council members looked at each other with new understanding. The humans were not the backward species they had thought. They were potentially the most dangerous military force in the galaxy, and they had been underestimated completely. Jake Martinez stood quietly waiting for their decision. He knew that everything was about to change. Humanity was no longer the laughingstock of the galaxy. They were about to become its protectors. The age of human influence in galactic affairs was beginning, and it would start with a war against the Draconian Empire. The aliens who had mocked humanity's weapons were now depending on those same weapons to save them. 3 weeks later, the combined Galactic Defense Fleet gathered at the edge of the Kepler system. Admiral Jack Scott stood on the bridge of the USS Columbia which was now the flagship of the Allied force. Around him, holographic displays showed the positions of over 200 ships from 12 different alien species. "Sir," reported Lieutenant Sam Parker, "long-range sensors are picking up the Draconian fleet. They're coming in fast and with a lot of ships. At least 300 vessels, including their flagship dreadnought." Admiral Scott studied the tactical display carefully. The Draconian Empire had built their reputation on overwhelming firepower and superior numbers. Their ships were huge, heavily armored, and equipped with the most advanced plasma weapons in the galaxy. In every previous battle, they had simply overpowered any opposition through sheer destructive capacity. "Communications from High Admiral Kethtar, sir," announced Communications Officer Lisa Woods. "Put him through." Kethtar's compound eyes appeared on the main screen, his insect features tense with worry. "Admiral Scott, our scouts report the Draconian force is larger than we expected. Perhaps we should retreat and gather more ships." "Negative, Admiral," Scott replied calmly. "We have them exactly where we want them. Are your ships ready to follow the battle plan?" "Ready, but Admiral, I must express my concerns. The Draconian fleet has over 10 times our combined ship mass." Scott smiled grimly. "Admiral, in space combat, mass is just a larger target. All ships, this is Admiral Scott. Battle stations. Execute Plan Alpha on my mark." Across the fleet, alien crews scrambled to their positions while human ships calmly prepared for combat. The battle plan was unlike anything the galactic civilizations had ever tried before. Instead of the traditional energy weapon exchanges, at close range, Scott intended to engage the enemy at maximum distance with concentrated kinetic strikes. "Draconian fleet entering extreme weapons range," reported Lieutenant Parker. "Distance 50,000 kilometers and closing. All human vessels target the lead dreadnought. Fire on my mark." The Allied alien ships stayed back, their energy, weapons useless at such extreme range. Only the human vessels could effectively engage at this distance. Mark. 23 human warships fired at the same time. Their railguns, precisely coordinated by quantum-encrypted targeting systems, launched tungsten rods at the Draconian flagship. The projectiles, invisible to most sensors, crossed the distance in less than 2 seconds. The Draconian dreadnoughts, shields designed to deflect energy weapons, provided no protection against solid matter moving at 40,000 kilometers per second. 23 tungsten rods struck the massive vessel at the same instant, their combined kinetic energy equal to several hundred nuclear weapons. The flagship simply fell apart, its hull unable to contain the catastrophic energy release. The explosion was visible even from the extreme engagement range, a brief star-bright flare that marked the end of the Draconian Empire's most powerful vessel. "Draconian fleet is breaking formation," Parker reported, his voice filled with amazement. They're retreating, sir." Admiral Scott nodded. The psychological impact had been exactly what he had hoped for. The Draconians had never faced an enemy that could destroy their most powerful ships from distances they considered impossible to fight at. "All ships, pursue and engage. Remember, aim for their engines first. I want prisoners, not just wreckage." The battle that followed was unlike anything in recorded galactic history. Human ships working in coordinated groups picked off Draconian vessels with surgical precision from ranges that made return fire impossible. The alien allies watched in amazement as their human colleagues demonstrated tactics that made traditional space combat completely obsolete. Captain Maya Chen, now commanding the destroyer USS Phoenix, coordinated strikes on a Draconian cruiser squadron. "Target engines first, then weapons. We want them alive to surrender." Her railgun spoke twice, sending tungsten rods through the cruiser's drive section with pinpoint accuracy. The massive ship, suddenly unable to move, became easy prey for the rest of her squadron. High Admiral Kethtar watched the battle from his command ship, his compound eyes wide with disbelief. The humans were systematically dismantling the Draconian fleet without taking a single casualty. Their weapons reached across distances that his people considered impossible, and every shot seemed to hit exactly where intended. "How are they, so accurate at these ranges?" His weapons officer clicked nervously. "I don't know," Kethtar replied quietly. "But I'm very glad they're on our side." The Draconian commander, Admiral Vextar, realized his fleet was being destroyed by an enemy he couldn't even fight back against. His plasma weapons had a maximum effective range of 5,000 kilometers, but the humans were killing his ships from 50,000 kilometers away. "All ships, full retreat," he ordered desperately. "Emergency jump to hyperspace." But it was too late. The human ships had targeted the hyperspace drives of the draconian vessels, leaving them trapped in normal space. One by one, the great warships of the Draconian Empire either exploded under kinetic bombardment or raised white flags in surrender. Within 2 hours, the Draconian fleet had been completely defeated. Over half their ships were destroyed, and the remainder had surrendered rather than face annihilation from weapons they couldn't even see coming. High Admiral Keth Tar's voice came over the communications channel, filled with something approaching awe. "Admiral Scott, in 3 centuries of military service, I have never witnessed such a one-sided battle. How did you achieve such precision at those ranges?" "Practice, Admiral," Scott replied simply, "and understanding that in space whoever shoots first and farthest usually wins." As the Allied fleet began rescue operations and prisoner processing, news of the battle spread throughout the galaxy. The Draconian Empire, which had seemed unstoppable, had been defeated by a species most considered technologically primitive. In the weeks that followed, humanity's application to join the Galactic Defense Coalition was not just approved. They were offered leadership positions throughout the organization. The mockery had turned to respect, and respect had quickly evolved into something approaching reverence. But Admiral Scott and his officers understood that their victory had been based on more than just superior weapons. They had won because they approached warfare with a human perspective, practical, efficient, and completely focused on results, rather than appearances. As the USS Columbia set course for Earth, carrying news of humanity's first galactic military victory, Admiral Scott reflected on the lessons learned. The galaxy had advanced civilizations with impressive technology, but they had forgotten that sometimes the simplest solutions were the most effective. Humanity had just reminded them that in the harsh mathematics of space combat, a well-aimed rock could still topple giants. The age of human influence in galactic affairs had begun, built not on the most advanced technology, but on the timeless principle that had served their species since the first human picked up a stone and threw it with deadly accuracy. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again.